All right, we're live. Welcome to
Hello.
another free and open chat Sunday, guys.
Yeah, I got a notification
Same
Awesome.
here.
that you're live.
Yeah. Welcome to
Hello.
another free and open chat Sunday,
Stream
guys. Let me
started?
mute. Let me
Yeah, I
mute.
got a notification.
Okay. All right. Everybody got the notification, hopefully. Speaking
Yeah.
of the notification, yeah, I forgot to even send out a notification until late last night.
Yeah, I was actually checking my phone. I was actually disappointed. I don't know because whether you would say a sorry message or actually the stream is going to happen. So I was like, this is like this. I mean, I don't know whether the stream actually happens or it has been canceled. So I was like checking again and again in my phone.
I did not know what I was working today until I went to work
It
yesterday.
happens.
Yeah.
I
So,
actually want to
when I
answer
got
a
home last
question.
night was
Yeah, I actually want to answer a question from YouTube comments asked by Randy. I think I butchered the name, but yeah, he asked me, can I answer that, Distro?
yeah, sure.
I mean, Distro 2. Yeah, he asked me that almost all of the distributions run wine, and is there any benefit? Is there any benefit in using a certain distribution for gaming? Now, my opinion basically is that everything runs wine, but there are certain components which are also required for running a game smoothly. Like, for example, the drivers. For most of the graphics cards, proprietary drivers are better than the open source version of drivers. Point to be noted that I'm not encouraging proprietary drivers, but yeah, performance-wise, they're good. And if you're using a distribution which already comes with a good amount of drivers and already comes with proprietary drivers, then you're good to go, basically. But some operating systems tend to optimize their distribution for games, and some don't. So, there is a difference between using a distribution and setting up all of the things yourself and then running the game, and using a distribution that automatically comes with the game. I mean, that automatically comes with the setup done for you. So you're just gonna click the game, hit install, and start playing.
Yeah, and you're talking about
Yeah.
gaming and wine. Most
Yeah.
Linux users are probably not going to fool with wine. I know a lot of folks do, but wine I
Yeah.
have no comment on. I just recommend people stay away from wine. And now with
my father,
with
father
Proton,
just
there's no reason to fool with wine anymore. Very soon, everything's just going to be available in Steam anyway. All those Windows only games. So
I don't know why. For some reason, my father just hates wine. If he sees wine in the system, he's gonna shout at me to uninstall wine because he thinks it's a total crap.
it is.
Proton is wine, basically.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
wine
I don't
that works.
Yeah, I don't play any games except Super Tux Card, so I don't use Steam or Wine, basically. If I want Windows, I just hop into another hard drive which has Windows in it, do my stuff, and get back.
Same here.
As far as
and
you want to, if you're on Linux, but you do a lot of gaming. Gaming is your life. For one thing, I would say you probably need to have a Windows install somewhere. But if you wanted to really game on Linux, Ubuntu, because it's popular, a lot of people build things to run on Ubuntu. If you're worried about it, the NVIDIA proprietary drivers and things like that, especially now with all the development with Steam and Proton, you always need to be on the latest driver. Might be a good idea to be on a rolling release, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a game changer, actually. You can't run the latest games on Debian's stable.
No,
it's going to be ridiculously hard.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that I would like to point out for gamers in Linux is use a lightweight desktop environment, because I have seen that the desktop environment is actually becoming heavy, and the game's performance is going to be a bit, affected by that. So using a lightweight distribution, I think, makes sense when having a lot of games.
Yeah, but that's kind of, we know that if you're doing things that require a lot of system resources, yeah, you want not a lot of other stuff going on your computer at that time. So
Yeah, that's a logic point.
yeah, right. So
Yeah.
something like GNOME, for
And-
example, which is known to be a memory hog. You know, GNOME sucks up a lot of RAM.
Yeah.
You're on a
KD
machine,
as
you
well.
only got
Using
4
GNOME
gigs of
now.
RAM. You know,
KD
I'm
is
using GNOME now.
as well.
Yeah, KD is much better.
KD is same crap. I've tested KD GNOME. I think it's the same crap.
What? You say KDE is crap? KDE
KDE
on my
Plasma.
system, KDE Plasma on my system with the latest Manjaro install takes only 400 megabytes of RAM, and the GNOME desktop now, which I'm running, is taking like 1,000 megabytes or something, which is near to a gigabyte, and I don't have any
That's a
application
gigabyte.
open. Yeah,
Whoa,
and I don't have any
that's
application
big.
open. That's
And
yeah. The
That
difference
KD
between
is small.
yeah,
That KD is
You know-
small. I don't.
And-
I never saw that small
Yeah.
in KD.
But
Yeah.
a lot of distros though that ship with GNOME and Cinnamon, the deepened desktop environments the same way. You can cold boot using a gig of RAM. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
that
I
heavy.
have it.
Deepen-
I have it on a
Yeah.
touch screen
especially
of RAM.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That
As
runs perfectly. Ubuntu GNOME runs perfectly on a gig of RAM touchscreen machine I have
Yeah.
right over there.
Now that's just the desktop
Actually-
environment. As soon as you open up the web browser, it's gone.
I have web browser open with
Right.
currently 4 tabs,
especially
and a
actually
couple of applications.
yeah,
Mhm.
especially when I
That's
launch Google Chrome and I have a ton of extensions. Like my only Google Chrome is gonna take up 700 megabytes of my RAM, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like 700 megabytes
Google
for a browser?
is known to be a big memory hog. That's like established for so long.
So
Don't
long.
touch that if you have a low memory. Firefox is much better, and
Much better.
on that machine that I have touchscreen on, I have gig of RAM, dual core processor, latest 1810 Ubuntu GNOME running, and browser and all things that required for touchscreen to work properly, and it runs smoothly.
And
And a lot
do
of
you
this
guys
is-
know about Akira?
Yes.
Do you guys know
I've heard
about
it.
Akira?
About the
Yeah, you
the
heard-
Kickstarter or the crowdfunding campaign for that
Yeah.
program? Yeah, I've seen a little
Yeah,
bit about
that program is sick. Like
Mhm.
it's beautiful. I'm a fan of it. Just
What
a
it
moment.
does?
Just by yeah, it's actually what do you call? It's actually the Adobe Experience Design and Sketch implemented in the open source world, and which is native Linux application. Like it's cool.
Yeah, I'll find the link to it. I've got it. It's Indiegogo is where it was, I believe.
Yeah, the Linux Experiment made a video.
Let's see. No, that's not it. That's a different Akira. Let's see.
It was good, but the money. It actually takes a few days to collect that much amount of money. That's not that's not a low amount.
So many crowdfunding sites. Kickstarter. That's the one it was on. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll post a link in the chat. In the YouTube
Yeah,
chat
sure.
for everybody. And in the Zoom chat for you
There you
guys.
go.
All right. But yeah, it does look like a really neat project. They've raised $8,000. They needed what 50 grand, I guess, for the
50 grand
Kickstarter
approximately.
for designing this thing. The guy that's behind it is pretty well known.
Yeah, he also
Alessandro
has a YouTube
Castellani.
channel which I follow.
Yeah, he's a good developer. He's worked on a lot of projects, so he'll probably get this thing done if he has enough money to devote the time to it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good day,
How you doing, Ricky?
whatever it is.
I'm doing good. I'm just on one of my Windows machines temporarily because I'm doing a bit of work on my Arch machine. I'm installing a new browser on it that I've never used before.
Surf? Is it the Surf browser? No.
No, it's called Ungoogled Chromium which is the web
Yeah.
browser I'm using right now. It's a version of Chromium that has no Google services in it at all.
Yeah, they've just removed the code and then compiled the Chromium.
One question: is it using WebKit?
Yeah, that's what's going to be.
Then it is still Google. You can.
It's still using the engine, right?
That was a straight up hit.
I was even checking out if I could the Googlefy WebKit because of the whole problem with ad removals.
The problem is we have so many.
No way of the Googlefying the WebKit. It's so deeply rooted that it breaks it.
Yeah. And here's the thing: we've got so many web browsers too. If you hate Google and you want to get off of Chrome, why try to strip Google out of that? Why not just go to a different web browser altogether?
Go Firefox.
Or Vivaldi or Opera.
Vivaldi is Chrome.
Yeah,
Vivaldi and Chrome are Vivaldi basically, and Opera.
Basically, the same thing as Chrome.
The terminal.
What's happening is the Blink engine, the Blink rendering engine, and the V8 JavaScript engine are just killing the web browser market.
Yeah.
It's the only thing except Firefox, which uses the Gecko engine and XLU Runner as the JavaScript engine. All other browsers, every damn browser uses Google Chrome.
Yeah.
Even the Falcon browser. Even the Falcon browser, which is an open source browser implemented by KDE, and the GNOME web browser, the Epiphany and all other browsers.
Horrible.
Yeah. They are also using an old version of Blink engine. And recently Edge has killed itself. Blink engine.
It isn't actually killed yet. It still uses the old Microsoft engine.
And what about what does Qt browser use? If you guys have tried Qt browser, I know it's a little
probably WebKit.
No.
Yeah, it's WebKit.
Is it?
I think I installed it once on Arch. I actually have found a bug in the GNOME desktop I'm running, BigPod. I want to confirm whether you have the same bug or I have to file a bug report.
Yeah.
It is about connecting a Bluetooth headphone, which actually currently I'm using to talk to you. It basically connects to the Bluetooth, and I get the feedback that the Bluetooth is in fact connected. And when I go to the system settings and see whether this device is there or not, it's not there. I don't know why that happens. Just let me show you that.
I don't know. I could go when I have to reboot the system a couple of minutes. I could go into GNOME environment and check if Bluetooth works okay on my version of GNOME Manjaro.
Yeah.
Morning, Ben.
What's up, Ben?
Yeah, good morning.
For some reason, Ben, I can't hear you.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Somebody decided to screen share.
Yeah, it's me. It's my desktop.
Oh.
Yeah.
You see that headset MS here? That's not there. I mean, that doesn't appear, and it doesn't take it still uses the HDMI connections and other stuff here, but this is my headphone. It never switches the audio input to the headphone. I don't know why it's happening like that, but it is, apparently.
I don't know.
Have you tried to look in Pulse Audio volume control, see what's going on?
Yes. It's not a problem of Pulse Audio, because after a bit of research, what I found out is running this command, which is sudo systemctl restart Bluetooth. It does properly function just for once. And again, if I disconnect my headphone, I gotta restart the Bluetooth service.
So that's not GNOME error. That's a Bluetooth error. It's probably what Manjaro uses for Bluetooth, probably Blueman or Blueberry.
Yeah, Blueman, because I checked in PAMAC.
And that's probably a bug in Blueman. Should probably contact Manjaro forum or go directly to Blueman.
Yeah, there you go. I got Blueman.
Go for Manjaro forum.
Okay.
I don't use Blueman, so I can't can't even test it. I use something
Like,
else.
are there any alternatives I can install on the system and use them? Is
No,
it the
yeah.
only one?
Yeah.
There is
There are
a
a couple
GNOME. Hang on. There is a GNOME Bluetooth package you can try that's native to GNOME, but I don't know if that'll help. But it's worth a shot.
Yeah, there are a couple alternatives to Blue Man.
Yeah, it's already there. I think I already installed the GNOME Bluetooth package, but I don't know how to use it.
This is a subsystem that works with one other of those Bluetooth programs like Blue Man, if you ask.
Yeah, Blue Man is the easiest, but if it's not working, I would recommend removing it and trying GNOME Bluetooth just for a goof.
Okay. I think I should try that.
Yeah.
You know, in KDE, I didn't have the problem. In Deepin, I had the same problem, and I formatted the Deepin OS, the Manjaro Deepin, just for this exact reason, just because it was actually not connecting to my Bluetooth.
It's probably the Bluetooth Blue Man or something like that. I don't know.
It might be,
Ask on Manjaro forums first.
I would recommend that before doing anything else.
Yeah.
Ask on the forum if anyone else is having this problem. And see
forum is they're awesome.
Actually, I have read in Manjaro forums that GDM is not playing good with the Pulse Audio, and it is not working with that. So I have to stop Pulse Audio and start it back, just like how I ran the systemctl command.
Right.
But, that doesn't make any difference. The problem is with Bluetooth, and in the forums, it says that the problem is with Pulse Audio. And clearly, as DT has said, the problem is with Bluetooth.
A new thing on their new forum post, and maybe someone will answer a question, or it will be put up the chain of help and all that.
I'm running Manjaro, but I don't use Bluetooth, so I can't help you on this. I don't.
But most of the time it's off.
I can't even test it out with anything. I don't have any Bluetooth devices or anything. So.
I bought so many 3.5mm jacks for recording my YouTube videos that I'm sick of them. I'm tired of them. They just get loosened, to be exact, after a few days of using it. So I just D3.5mm jacked my entire setup. That's a big word.
3.5 is crap. I've been telling that for last couple of years. I so hate it. And I'm actually really happy that phones are going away from it, because it gets destroyed after a year. It's basically the phone. You can't even plug in the headphones anymore.
Yeah, my mic now goes directly to... go ahead, DT.
I want to mention Mr. GFY is in the chat. We haven't seen Mr. GFY a lot lately, so I wanted to say good morning to him. I also wanted to mention, in case he did not stop by the Big Daddy Linux Live show last night, they're going to do Parrot on the next show. So GFY, make sure next Saturday night. Because he loves Parrot, and so they're going to do Parrot. I don't know. Some of them might do security. Some of them might do the home edition.
Yeah. Most of us will probably do the home version.
The mic is actually running the USB dongle, so I don't have a 3.5mm jack at in the mic, and the headphone that I'm using is now using Bluetooth, so there's no wires and there are no 3.5mm jacks. So complete. I'm out of any 3.5mm jacks, and it works flawlessly. At least till now, from the last 6 to 7 months, I didn't have any problem after 3.5mm jacking the entire setup.
Wow.
My next headphones will probably have USB interface and not the 3.5mm jack. Or I might just go for something big. And buy myself
in the last free and open chat stream, DT, before going live, we had a problem. Do you remember that? We had an audio issue.
No, I don't remember that. I've slept since then, so I forgot what happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you cleared your RAM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was, I mean, I had to investigate on that. So why it happened? So what happened was, I use a USB adapter. I mean, a sound card, a virtual sound card for converting the 3.5 mm signals to the USB jack. So what happened was, it was outputting the speakers to that, so I couldn't hear you, and it was inputting from the built-in microphone, which is not working. So I couldn't hear you, and you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, and I was having problems too. So it was really strange because we were the first two on the stream, and I couldn't really hear you because you were having problems. You couldn't hear me because I was having problems. But Pulse audio volume control. If you check the input and output, sometimes it gets them cross. It's sending what should be the mic to your speakers or, to some other interface. And Pulse audio.
Wanted to mention something. Just been installing Windows Server, Fedora server.
Okay,
on
much better.
One of my servers. Okay, I also did Windows Server, but for some other reason.
Windows Server, wow.
Yeah, I have a version I need for build server, so I can build C# applications off my server. It's in a VM, so don't worry. But Fedora Server, I just got lost in their software selection because, unlike the last version, they have everything in there. Basically, you can customize it really, really, really a lot, and it's all done via the GUI. Like, you can make from your server operating system, you can make a Mate desktop with like crap ton applications and stuff pre-installed. It's really,
but still, it's a Windows server.
No, Fedora.
No, he was saying Fedora has a lot of stuff. Yeah, he misspoke when he said Windows. Yeah,
that Windows server.
Yeah, the Fedora server.
Probably scrapping it, installing some standard version of Windows.
So what were you going to do on the Fedora server? Where were you setting it up
It's going to be a backup server for my Ubuntu server with my databases and built what is it called? TeamCity will be back up on that, and some other stuff will be backed up on this server. Plus, probably will sooner or later start clustering my MySQL server just because learning.
Yeah, and between Ubuntu and Debian,
database, right?
I have called.
He froze.
Yeah, he froze.
Yeah, you're back with
Who
us.
froze?
You did for a second, Big Bud.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess when I mentioned MariaDB, something happened. The stream got crossed. Or something. You froze for a second.
I use MySQL.
Yeah. I do too. I was half joking there. I prefer my MySQL.
I don't know. In the Arch repositories, MySQL these days is called the MariaDB, and you have to install, for some weird reason, you have to install MariaDB to get MySQL.
MariaDB is a fork of MySQL, as far as I'm remember.
And it's compatible. It's going to work for you.
Yeah, it's 100% compatible.
Right. So.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the package name could be different, right?
If you want it.
Yeah. It feels odd to install MariaDB and then work with MySQL. And finally, when you get both of those, you get a confusion with what is running and what has been stopped, where my databases are, whether they're in MariaDB or MySQL.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't want both on the system. I mean, they're basically the same thing. So.
Yeah, but that's kind of bloat, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you're not going to use both of them, right?
Yeah, I hope you're not hurt by the word bloat.
No, because you actually used it correctly. Because if you had MySQL and MariaDB on the same system, you're bloated, right? But a lot of people have this weird notion of bloat. Like when I think of bloat, I'm thinking of stuff that is taking up space on my hard drive for no reason. That's bloat. Packages that are there I'm never going to use, that's bloat. People use the term bloat for things like the Xterm terminal emulator. I made that video about that. It's bloated because it's got 50,000 lines of code. It's 1 megabyte in size, external. That's not bloat.
Yeah.
I don't care how many lines of code it was.
Yeah, that's not bloat.
Right.
That's not at all bloat.
Yeah, the 50,000 lines of code, I guess it's bloated if I ever had to audit that code, but who does that?
Yeah.
None of us are, I mean, we're not about to, so I'm not worried about lines of code. 1 megabyte installed is what Hexterm is.
50,000 lines. Yeah. Okay, DT, you're freezing.
Yeah, we're all freezing.
My internet connection is not stable.
Yeah.
Yeah, my internet connection is unstable. Let me close the video that I'm running here.
Yeah, things look good on my end.
My connection is okay.
Yeah.
It appears.
It also appears that my connection is now stable. Actually, my point was if someone has MySQL on their system installed, I mean, before that, you mentioned about Xterm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Xterm, people say Xterm is bloated because there are 50,000 lines. But what they don't understand is those 50,000 lines don't execute all of the time.
Right. Exactly.
Technically, they are all the time in what's it called? RAM.
Yeah, they're available to you all the time.
They are in RAM. When you launch the application, that code gets inputted in RAM, and that code is there in RAM when Xterm is executed. So maybe
is Xterm independent? Is Xterm independent of any external libraries? I don't know, so I'm asking.
Well, I mean, it's dependent on a graphical environment. You have to have Xorg. You know, you have to have the X server.
I don't know what's it built, or is it built on GTK or what?
Okay. Anyway, Xterm is not considered a bloat. It's a beautiful terminal emulator, according to me. That's my opinion. And coming to the MariaDB and MySQL point, like 99.9% of server guys or any environment, they are either going to use MySQL or MariaDB. They're not going to use both at once.
Yeah.
That's point number one. And point number two, I don't know why the hell, but my systemd starts both of them at once.
Well, you need to disable one of them.
Yeah,
I have to go manually dig into the config files and automatic and tell systemd not to start both of the databases when the system doesn't start. I mean, when the system just starts away.
Disable MariaDB.
Right. It's the same way you enable it,
command,
and then the command line, you just disable it. Yeah.
Basically, that's it.
Yeah. But that's an extra step with a lot of data. I mean, with two different programs in one package.
Well, you should only have to do it one time.
You must understand that most people, most ITs, that typing one command, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's basically nothing. Yeah. I type every time I got to connect to my Bluetooth headphones. I type that command: sudo systemctl restart.
And things
Bluetooth.
You find yourself doing all the time. Like if I find that I'm doing something every time I log in, just put it in a script, right? Have a script.
Then put it into auto start.
Yeah,
shebang.
Yeah, shebang.
Yeah, shebang.
Every time I put the shebang, I don't know why. In the computer, I find most of the terms to be masculine. I don't know why shebang is a feminine word.
I don't know. I always think about the Ricky Martin song, She Bangs, She Bangs.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I might have just dated myself a little bit there. That song is not a recent song.
So actually, what happens is, we can't put that systemctl command, that one little command. I mean, we can't integrate that in the GNOME menu. So when I click on the panel, connect to my headphones, I have to run the command prior because I don't know when I will be connecting. I'll be switching this headphone between my phone and the computer. So that's actually
one thing
make
that has
it a desktop file and put it into the menu.
Yeah, then I don't know whether there is some error or not.
Make it open. Make it open GNOME terminal.
Yeah, you can have it execute in the terminal.
Yeah.
Whatever you write, just write it in such a way it executes in the terminal. That way you get some kind of output.
Yeah, just like how HTOP does it, right?
Exactly. Like if you have any kind of command launcher. Yeah.
Yeah, if you open HTOP, it's going to open a terminal and then start HTOP. That's actually pretty neat.
Yeah, because the executable command for HTOP is not just HTOP, it's term HTOP, right? The default terminal on your system, HTOP, right? So
I think it pulls up from XDG.
Right.
That's what I learned a lot of that since I started using OpenBox.
Yeah. Like if I'm running dmenu or Rofi, for a command launcher, I can't just type HTOP and launch HTOP because, that's not launching it from that desktop file. I actually have to open a terminal and just type HTOP rather than do it at the command launcher. Or do the full command.
Because you have a window manager and the opening a terminal is super simple. You just press the mod key and enter it. Actually, that for you and for somebody who uses window manager, that's actually easy. But for me, I use the full GNOME desktop. So I have to find out where is the terminal.
Alt-T.
Yeah.
Alt-T. Let me try that.
It should be.
It did nothing.
Then you have to change it in the
settings. Yeah.
The settings.
Are you just trying to bring up a terminal?
It's actually a setting for GNOME. That's actually like you just click it and enable it. That's it. It's
in Manjaro GNOME, the Control Alt T, which is used by most distributions, is not working. And as BigPod has said, the Alt T is also not working.
Super T sometimes works.
Not working.
Yeah. You have to go to Deconfigurator, find in GNOME Terminal. You have to find GNOME Terminal where it is the settings for GNOME Terminal, and it should have the Alt T to enable Alt T as a launch terminal.
And why are we trying to fix GNOME? There's other desktop environments out there. I mean, like everything you're talking about has been a problem with GNOME. Just get off of GNOME, right?
That's what I think.
Because desktop environment, it's the best.
DT, you know me pretty well. I switch out my distributions every week, so. In the last live stream, I talked about KDE. Now I'm talking about GNOME. Tomorrow, who knows? I'm going to talk about what desktop environment.
XFCE probably be the last one you ever try out, and then you just stay with it because it's not like GNOME and KDE. It doesn't see a ton of development. Things don't break on it.
Yeah, but it looks old. By default, it looks old.
Mm-hmm. It looks old?
I don't like anything else. Tried everything, don't like it.
You don't like anything but GNOME?
Yeah, as a desktop environment, I don't like anything but GNOME. Okay.
Now,
Mate is okay if it's made better.
Yeah.
But most versions of Mate are bad.
Really? You know what?
Yeah, one thing I gotta mention. Yeah, one thing I want to mention to the entire.
Let's say that. Okay.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to mention to the Linux community is that, GNOME, KDE, Cinnamon, Mate, all of this Deepin, and all of these desktop environments, this is my personal opinion, and I feel that everybody should think in this way. They are so different. They have their own, the goals, their aims, their purposes. Yeah. They are so different that you can't compare. It's like comparing a cow with a frying pan. They're totally different. You can't compare those two, right?
Yeah.
So all of the desktop environments are so unique. You can compare one with another. Say this is good and this is not. You can compare with the RAM memory management, and certain aspects which are common across all of the desktop environments. But you can't combine and say you can't give a statement that KDE is better than XFCE. That's wrong. That's totally wrong.
No, you can talk about the workflow. You can, because they're software. Because
you can compare because they both are desktop environments. Their primary purpose is same.
Yeah, and because of that, they have a point where you can compare them, and you compare them.
But we got to consider. But we got to consider that KDE uses Qt and GNOME uses GTK. It makes a difference, right?
Yeah, but not to the end user.
Technically, yes,
Usually,
but
most end users are only worried about performance. That's usually what they're
because they
talking
don't
about.
know.
Right.
Don't know what's the difference between.
Right.
Most users won't know what's the difference between GTK,
Yeah.
Qt, even Electron.
They
don't
just know,
what's
hey,
the
Yeah.
difference.
this is slow on my machine. That's all they
This one
know.
is-
Right?
This one
That's
works
all, yeah,
well.
that's
This
all.
one works something different, and this one uses a lot of RAM and starts up slowly
Mhm.
sometimes.
And DT, in the first free and open chat when I was there, I mentioned about Linux in India, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You. Who did you call sir? May I know that?
You, sir.
I'm not sir. I'm sorry. I'm a kid. I'm an 18-year-old kid. I think I think I should call you sir.
You still
I
are a
should call you
sir
sir.
because you're 18-year-old.
Please don't give me that much respect. You all are like senior citizens.
Oh wow, he's about to call us all.
No.
That
does not apply to that.
That
That does not apply to DT and Big Pod. That does not apply to DT and Big
I'm like 2 years older than you. Okay, in a couple of days, 3 years older than you. Like.
Anyways, respect is always respect, right?
The rest of us are just going to stay quiet on this age thing. So.
Okay. Anyways, the point is, I actually found. I said you on that stream that I actually found a distribution called Hamara in Hindi, which means us, our. It goes on that perspective. I messaged them. They are running the Debian edition with the Mate desktop environment. I messaged them, and they don't give any reply to me. I don't know why. The distribution has ridiculously old packages. Even Debian Stretch, the stable version of Debian, is has much newer packages than that version of Linux. I contacted them saying,
it's probably abandoned. Then, yeah, it's probably whoever was working on it's probably just given up on it. If the packages are old and you can't contact anybody, they've moved on to something else by now, right?
It's actually backed by a company, a commercial company called Hamara Enterprises. And there are actually a good amount of people working on the farms, but they're not sending any message. I mean, they're not replying. I registered a new account. It blocked my account for some unknown reason, and they don't work.
No.
I seriously want a Linux distribution with all of the 26 official languages of India in one single distribution, so it could be used in the entire country. Like most other countries, we don't have a national language. Of course, Hindi and English are the two most widely used languages, but we have 26 languages, and they are very different in writing, I mean, in the script, as well as while speaking. So I want all of these languages in the Linux, in a good distribution that is mostly a rolling release and has a good desktop environment, which is stable.
You're probably going to have to build that yourself, because I can tell you, not a lot of people want to undertake a project like, I'm going to build a Linux distro and have it support 26 different languages. That's a ton of languages to support. I'm just telling you right now.
Especially if you're the only one that's supporting it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a ton of languages, but the problem in India is the culture, the ethnicity here is so different. It's like if you go to another state, the language is totally different. The festivals are different. How they speak is different. How they look is different. Everything is. It just feels like you've gone to some different country, and in fact, you're still in the same country. You just moved into a different state. It's totally different. And to make a distribution that can that can be widely installed and used in different educational institutions, as well as in the enterprise for the entire country, it's actually a tough job to do that. So there's actually an official distribution called BOSS, BOSS Linux. I found it on the DistroWatch page. It has a very low ranking because nobody uses that. It is using Debian, but as I said, Indians are like hell bad at having a Linux distribution and maintaining that.
But like I said,
I don't know why.
You know, if you want something and it's not out there, build it yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's often what we have to do. Hey, Chris.
As Eric has often said, you know, the DistroWatch rankings really don't mean a whole lot because it doesn't tell you how many of those downloads have actually been installed and what is actually made.
Yeah, because man, they don't even go through this watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the DistroWatch page also will tell you like the last time they got a release announcement about a distro. So if something hasn't seen a release in a year or two,
the downloads are flawed. They're not the actual number that they are intending to show. Another thing is I use DistroWatch just to find out about new distributions, not about and not looking at their statistics, basically.
Yeah. That's a good thing to use it for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good repository of distributions, and I just go there, look up the distribution that I like, and apparently there are 3 distributions from this, from India, and all of them are ridiculously outdated, and one of them is actually discontinued. 2 of them they say they're active in their website as well as in the distro2 page, but yeah, and no response. I just tried contacting them from the last 5 to 10 days, and nobody just responded to me.
Yeah, the Google, not the DistroWatch page hit rankings have nothing to do with downloads. It's just page hits on DistroWatch. A lot of that is really based on search engine results, mainly through Google. But it really has no bearing on how many people actually use those distros. I mean, by far, number 1 on DistroWatch is Manjaro. So is that really the most popular distro? I seriously doubt it. Is it the best Linux distro? Is it the best Linux distro? No, there's no best Linux. Is it the best Linux distro if I'm installing it on a Raspberry Pi? I mean, is it the best distro if I'm putting up a web server? Or like it depends. People often ask, they think that DistroWatch ranking tells me the best Linux distros. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. If you guys are not offended by this, I'd like to tell a small logic.
Mm-hmm.
And the logic is the same shit doesn't fit for everybody, right?
No.
So an operating system, I find, is specific to either desktop usage, server usage, or IoT. So taking MX Linux and putting it on a Raspberry Pi, I think defeats its purpose. Like it's not meant to put on a Raspberry Pi. You got many other distributions which are which are built for Raspberry Pis, right?
Well, I don't even know if MX has an ARM image.
But, I mean,
you need an ARM image, and it's basically Raspberry Pi.
And that was my point. No matter how popular Manjaro and MX are, if they don't have an ARM image, it's not the right distro for me if I'm putting it on a Pi, right? So,
Debian actually works good with ARM images, and I think I built the Arch Linux ARM for I think my phone. Yeah, it is ARM64. My phone has an ARM64 processor, so I tried building Arch Linux for ARM64, and it just didn't compile. I mean, it just didn't build the ISO. There was an error.
Many times to build ARM, you need actual ARM hardware, ARM processor.
Mm-hmm.
You will need to have either ARM server or ARM desktop.
Okay, but ARM processors, I heard that they're not that powerful to compile the entire operating system, or at least the kernel. Are they powerful enough?
They are quite powerful.
What do you mean by powerful enough?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're...
Basically, what powerful would mean in this case would be to have many cores, because that's actually what matters in compiling.
Yeah, exactly. I have this phone, which is an MIA one, which is running
the powerful enough. If you want to compile something like really serious compiling, you would need something like KVM server or HP ARM server.
But something with a lot of cores.
That's also something that'll help you.
That's also quite expensive.
Yeah, I don't have that much amount of scope to compile a Linux distribution for my phone. Anyways.
Yeah, but that's the catch of the ARM problems, because they need to be compiled on the same distribution, or you might be able to compile it if it's actually in a VM, basically.
Yeah.
Making
talking in a very technical aspect, cross compiling for different platforms, as far as I have done, is on a lower level. It is not that hard, but cross compiling for a different architecture is extremely hard.
Yeah,
because you don't have that. Yeah, because you don't have that exact architecture. It does not know how to figure out the assembly code and compile it into binary.
If compiler should know, because actually it doesn't actually read the processor, it actually knows what it's doing. But the problem is somewhere a lot deeper. So,
well,
I just know that most people don't compile. Most people compile anything ARM related on ARM servers.
Yeah.
In general, though, I mean, if you're trying to compile, the compile depends a lot on how much memory you have available, as well as the number of cores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have a lower end machine, you can still compile. You just it's going to take longer.
Yeah.
I mean, like I have a dual core machine here with 4 gigs. I want to recompile the kernel. It's going to take probably close to about 6 hours.
Oh, at least, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. The first time I compiled the Linux kernel from source, it took more than 72 hours, and I had 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the operating system was running from an SSD. And after the entire compilation, I found out that I was using the default config file that comes with the kernel, which means it has ridiculous drivers and modules already compiled.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It depends on which kernel you're compiling. If you're doing the big kernel,
I just remember
the config file. I used the wrong config file. Basically,
I just remember
it has a lot of junk
on the 32 core Threadripper. It was
AMD Threadripper.
AMD Threadripper 32 core, the strongest one they have. We use 64 gigs of RAM. 30 seconds to compile the most hardest to compile kernel.
Wow.
Oh, that is very impressive. 30 seconds is
32 cores,
like nothing.
64 threads makes a real difference. Basically, kernel was compiled in 30 seconds.
Yeah. And
then it takes over
once
an hour
to
compile that kernel on my machine.
On mine as well.
And when I took the kernel the kernel's config file from the Debian operating system, which I was running at that time, it compiled in 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was
just quickly in the chat. Farron in the chat had made a joke a minute ago about Manjaro being so high on DistroWatch. The theory is that it's so high because Manjaro breaks all the time. They have to go to DistroWatch to download the ISO again.
Hasn't broken for me. Hasn't broken for DT.
Neither did for me. It did not. Manjaro is pretty stable, according to me. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And Arch is
people do break it. I get people commenting all the time that they break it.
But many times it's pepcac. Problem is between keyboard and chair.
Yeah.
People who forcefully swap window managers and login managers, like me, break distributions quick enough that they have to format once a week.
Why you swap login managers?
Well,
curiosity.
GDM is tied into GNOME. KDE.
Yeah. I have LightDM for everything. But
LightDM makes sense because it just works.
Liking LightDM.
Yeah.
I want to explore the world of Linux. I want to use the Compass desktop environment with the Deepin desktop environment. I want to use Kavin with the GNOME desktop environment because it gives you that blur. I can't do that?
Basically,
I can't do that.
GNOME has so tight in what's
Mutter.
called.
The Mutter desktop. The Mutter window manager.
Can't do anything. I tried doing OpenBox with GNOME, which was possible in GNOME 2 days.
Yeah, it was. You could use
Yeah, I
And-
tried.
And
I
it is
think
possible
most
more
of the
Flutter.
Yeah, I think most of the floating window managers I tried swapping at runtime using -- replace flag in the GNOME desktop, and as soon as I do that, for every window manager, the GNOME panel just vanishes. It's
GNOME
gone.
panel is specifically tied into Matter.
to the window. It's
GNOME
tied into the
shell.
window manager.
Yeah.
The compositing is
called.
tied in.
Tied to Matter, and
Yeah.
it cannot be
The most
used
the
anyway.
most window manager hopping friendly desktop environment I have found till now is actually Mate desktop. It
Yeah,
basically
KDE
allows
can
you to switch
also
between.
KDE can also swap different window managers. I know I even have on my system I have KDE with OpenBox.
Oh, that's great, but it destroys the purpose because KDE has that beautiful looking blur effect. I'm a big fan of that.
I don't care
personally
for
don't-
anything like that. So
It destroys the
Yeah,
purpose.
I care.
The purpose is to get rid
Basically,
of that
my-
blur effect because it's slow and he's
Yeah,
trying to
it,
do something a little faster.
I never
Makes my
experienced lag.
processor work.
I never
It makes
experienced
my
stuttering
processor
or
do what
blur.
I don't want.
Yeah, in
Well,
fact,
Go ahead.
it's not
Yeah,
even
go-
lag.
Yeah.
It's what my users will use.
Yeah.
And that's what I need to do is I need to create an environment that they actually want to use the computer instead of bringing in their own equipment and using the Windows 7 and 10 and start bitching about everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I basically think Microsoft, the KDE Plasma implements a better blur effect than the Mac OS, which has been doing since a long time, and the newly coming Windows.
I just don't
the
care
Aero desktop isn't
Yeah.
for blur in any way.
Yeah.
get rid of it.
I
The Aero
don't
desktop
even have a
was good,
compositor.
but at that time it was too hardware intensive for computers to support that. So they actually failed in having an Aero system at that time. Now it works flawlessly. It's amazing. It's good. Many of the people
except for in my paying job is we also have a resource intensive program called Lumina that is the core of how some of the people out on the factory floor are logging their time as well as getting information on how to assemble parts and everything else. And it takes 15 minutes to respond to a click because of the Windows fancy stuff. And
Disable everything.
Lumina don't like each other. And it's
Disable everything.
Yeah, I think the best chance is to switch back to the classic Windows 98 theme that comes with Windows 7.
It's
I
like
really
when
like
I
that
use
key.
Plasma, and the first thing I do is I turn off all the effects. If any are turned on that distro by default, I turn them all off anyway because I just want something with a little more pep, So I don't want wobbly windows. I don't want the transparencies. I don't want any of that, So
My blog doesn't even have compositor.
Yeah. Actually, my preference of using a fancy desktop environment which has wobbly windows, which has the desktop cube from the Compass window manager, which is actually pretty iconic in the Linux world. That and then the blur effects depends on what kind of work I am doing. So in case I'm programming, I just don't need all of that stuff. So I just disable everything. But when I'm making videos, I need to make sure that my videos look cool, look good. Tomorrow, if some new Linux user sees my video, he should say, wow, that Linux desktop looks gorgeous.
That
That's my
desktop
point.
cube, you're right. That desktop cube was so iconic about 10, 12 years ago in the GNOME 2 desktop. Everybody just was blown away by that neat effect. But nowadays, looking back on it, what did it actually do? It did nothing.
It died.
Right.
It died.
You can change your
Now
desktop.
nobody
Like if
uses
I
that.
want to go from workspace 1 to workspace 2, I just hit a hotkey and I'm there. Do I really need some kind of animation to see like the desktop spinning around? Like,
I mean,
it's
some
pretty,
people are
but
attracted towards that. Some people are not. It's just basically the personal preference that comes to people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When making a video, it actually looks good with all those animations. But when working on the PC, writing some code or doing some compilation, then those effects are not that needed or necessary in that, if you can go with that. And when making videos, I absolutely enable those effects, even though it takes a significant amount of my RAM, because my videos should look good. They should be attractive. And only then new Linux users, they are not, for example, let me say like that. Let me put it like this. New Linux user who has never heard about Linux, if I give him a Linux video, he's not going to see what package manager I'm using. He's not going to see what kernel I'm running in. He's going to see how gorgeous the menus are, how gorgeous the system is, and then come. And once he comes to the system, once he starts using the Linux, then he's going to get familiar with the package manager and all those things. And he's going to realize himself that how powerful Linux is. So it is not like we're going to show him the a Linux distribution which does not have a desktop environment and say this is powerful. He's going to say, who cares? It does not look cool.
Well, it depends on the user.
Like what I saw, like what I see around when I work, like when I fix computers, most people don't care how their system looks, because for most of them it's just a tool and nothing else. It's just a tool that makes work done, and for most people, that what they do, Windows gets the work done.
If you're talking
Windows
about serious work,
the reality we should understand.
But it looks good. Microsoft actually puts a lot of money to make Windows look good.
Yeah, but
don't you think that's a reason for using Windows for some people? Not all people, but some people.
Probably something like 10 to 15%.
Looks good. Looks good and is good are two different things, though. Yeah, I agree. Windows 10 looks good.
My dad just calls Windows 10. My dad just calls Windows 10 an empty box. It looks good outside, but there's nothing in the inside. It's just crap.
Also, aesthetics is subjective, right? What I think is beautiful, somebody else is going to think is,
Yeah.
But most people, what I see, like when I fix computers, don't really care about how things look. They really just want things to.
Mostly power users of computer. If someone power users of computer are not going to care about how things look or how things are made up of. They just want their work to be done. And if it is Linux, it's great. But new people who are not inexperienced computer users, they are going to care about how things look, how they can make it in the easiest way.
Most of the time, no, because when I fix computers, none change even their desktop wallpaper. Why?
Yeah.
Because they don't care about how things look. I even ask a couple of people. They just say,
because it's not their personal computer, right?
No.
It's an enterprise system. They might change in their personal computers.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I've seen more wallpaper changes on enterprise computers, their work computers, than on home desktops. I fix home desktops
because they spend more time on those computers.
Yeah, because companies, if they have time, they do stuff, and no chance they'll break it. Like if they break it, they call IT. And because at work they have to at least pretend they do something, so they change wallpaper. Just it seems they do something.
Yeah. Okay. So you got a strong point on that.
Because it's not that important to them how it looks, and they just care that it does the job they need to do. For example, most people need to do browser. They need to do maybe Word, Excel, PowerPoint, that sort of stuff. Windows does that well enough. That's the end of it.
Okay, I'm going to just ask you one last question. If you answer this question, that's it. I lose. If you answer this question in a different way, you win. I'm saying that. Okay?
Answer the question, Big
Pun. The question is, let me get somebody who never used a computer, right? He's fresh, clean. they used just a little bit of Windows. That's it. Just a little bit of Windows and Microsoft Office. That's it. Nothing sophisticated. Now, do you think they're gonna change their? They're gonna shift from Windows to Linux if the distribution that they are using looks like Windows 98 and they are in fact living in 2019?
Probably won't be anything with looks, because most of the time what normal people use is basically flock psychology. Basically, what most people use, they will use, because if most people use, then it's the best. Yeah. Or at least they think that's the flock.
There's also different kind of computer users. So most people use
Windows. Do you think Windows is the best?
No, I don't think the Windows is the best, but most people, that's what psychologically you think, that because it's most people use it.
Let's just don't make this. Let's just don't make today's free and open chat a hot discussion topic.
Well, I want to briefly mention.
I accept. I lose it.
No, I want to mention this though. The kind of people Big Pod and me are talking about that just use something that works. You know, people that do serious work on a computer, as long as it just works, they don't care what it looks like. Does it get the job done?
Yeah.
There's those kind of people. And then there's my grandmother that just needs Facebook. She's a completely different kind of computer. Yeah, she wants that thing to look good because, you know, it's pretty, right? I just want, you know, something that works. That's all I want. I don't care how it looks, as long as it's.
For most people, it's flock psychology, because basically, let's say that guy, 6 guys out of 7 use it. So what will I use since I don't know anything?
They're gonna go with the flow.
Probably what most people use, because it's majority, and well, if majority uses, it must be the best, even though it might not be.
Yeah, I don't care if it looks like Windows 98. It looks dated. But believe it or not, there's a lot of people that love the retro look. They like those old school, monochromatic icon sets and the old, you know, Windows 95, 98 kind of paradigm. Yeah, a lot of people like that.
They are actually the starting of the computer user interface era. So people are actually crazy about having an old having that Windows 98 retro look. But I'm not saying this is the message to Big Pod and DT. I'm not saying that there are no people who say that the performance, who prioritize performance over the UI. I'm saying is both type of people exist.
Yeah, but what I have seen, and that's in corporate in home environments, I have seen that most people don't care about how things look if it gets their job done, especially when it comes to computer, which is just a tool. Right. People will care how their car looks because they have more attachment to car. Like, for example, me, DTU, we care about our computer. We make them look good because for us it's something more than a tool. It's for some of us even an extension of ourselves. And that's why
for me it is total. It's totally an extension.
A lot of work to make it work the best, to make it work. But for most people, it's just a tool. It's just like that hammer in the shed.
Well, what if you don't have a graphical environment? What if you don't have a graphical environment like Big Pod's working on his Fedora server? He's just doing everything at a shell prompt. You know, does that look good? No, but is he getting the job done? Is he happy with it? Yeah. You know, it's not right.
Yes, yes. That's what I said just a few minutes ago. For a power user, a computer power user, it does not make sense whether they have. They don't care whether they have beautiful user interface or without a desktop environment. Actually, for power users, it's advantageous to go on a completely command line operating system because it makes them faster. It makes them remember more commands. It makes them a pro. It teaches them more commands when they do it in command line. If you're a computer professional, if you are somebody who your computer is an extension of that, right? People.
Well, I don't think most people use the command line to learn. I think most people just use it because it's the right tool for the right job. I rarely go into the command line because I want to learn something.
Yeah,
you know?
I go to command line because it has the easiest way to do something.
Right.
If it's I'm doing a word processing, I won't use some command line based word processing just because I want to learn command line.
And I do get this. Sometimes people ask me
because it's easiest to do the job.
Yeah, sometimes people ask me, "Hey man, why are you doing all this at the command line? Why don't you open a GUI tool?" Because the command line's faster. But a lot of people think that I do it at the command line. I'm purposely avoiding the GUI because I'm going to the command line because I want to make it hard on myself and I want to learn something. No, the command line's easier. The GUI's the hard one. Stay away from the GUI.
For example,
GUI.
I'm doing the
for some things, GUI is the hard one. For some other things,
it's easiest.
The GUI is the good one.
Yeah.
So there is a difference. You might not want to watch a movie in the command line, right? You need to have a GUI program like a VLC, GNOME, MPV or something like that to watch a movie. And exactly as DT has said, you are not going to edit Word documents in a command line. You have to have an Office suite for that. So there are specific purposes where command line is good and a specific purpose. Go ahead.
I learned computing basically on a VAX and a PDP. Okay, that's strictly command line. There is no GUI in there. Okay, that had word processing, had WPS. It wasn't WYSIWYG, so you had to be able to plan out and visualize what you wanted to look like.
Yeah, you imagine
and everything else. And then let's see, as far as graphics are concerned, PDP-1 is the one that started has the first video game. It does, but everything was still done through the command line. The results were just printed out on a graphical display. It was, so.
And you can do some kind of office work, like office documents. There are command line word processing tools out there. They're not like OpenOffice or LibreOffice or anything like that, but I mean, you have things like a word grinder in the terminal that you can use as a word processor. You can use LaTeX, it's Markdown, but you can do some really nice stuff with that. Presentation software. I don't know command line presentation stuff offhand, but I bet somebody's already figured that out too. So.
It's actually a tough job because they have to show images and all sorts of things. Like word processing, Markdown is actually a good answer to command line word processing. If you have a Markdown editor, that's it. You're good to go. Pretty much everything that we do in Word documents, because Word documents mostly are not so fancy, but presentations need to be fancy, need to be impressive in order to get that effect.
I'm just talking about creating I'm talking about creating the presentation at the command line, not displaying it at the command line. Obviously, you're going to have to graphically display it somehow, right?
Display it, yeah.
Yeah. It's like I can do this stream. I can, create a video with FFmpeg, at the command line, but I'm not going to play it with, I'm going to open it in VLC and look at it later, right? So. Chris, what are you eating, sir?
Sorry,
I'm hungry.
Let's see, not sponsored, but I was really hungry for it. So, Popeyes.
Yeah. Oh, I love Popeyes. That's what I should do when I leave here.
So it is morning, right? It's what time is it in America?
No, it depends on what time zone you're in.
Yeah, in the Eastern time zone, it's just a little after 12 o'clock right now, noon.
No.
Okay, back.
In the afternoon. What's the time, DT? In Chicago? I guess you live in Chicago?
No, I live in Louisiana, but that's the same time zone. 11 a.m.
Okay. 11 a.m. It's actually we can, Big Pod.
Okay.
It's actually 10:40 in the night here, and I'm hungry. And once the stream is over, I'm gonna go and eat.
Yeah.
It's actually night.
I can turn my video off.
Yeah, here it's 7:06 p.m. here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't
So
get any
who
kind
has
of
the
breakfast
most
other than
coolest
coffee.
weather amongst all of us?
The coolest weather? Are you talking about the coldest weather?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, the coldest weather.
It definitely will not be me. It will be the rest of you guys.
Probably.
Well, last night it got down to about
negatives over
23
here.
degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So
Here
I
it
could have
goes
wore
at night.
shorts most of this week outside, and so
Here it goes outside sometimes around negative 10 degrees Celsius.
Oh my God.
mhm.
I
but
seriously
colder.
didn't go to one digit. I didn't seriously. Oh, you were talking about Fahrenheit or Celsius?
I'm talking about Celsius because Celsius
Okay.
is used in Europe, in Slovenia. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Actually,
you were talking Celsius, not Fahrenheit.
yeah, there is a myth that America uses Fahrenheit and we use Celsius.
It's not a myth.
There is a difference.
Yeah, there's
No,
a
it's not a myth.
difference,
We use Fahrenheit.
yeah, they use
Well, it's a
Fahrenheit.
myth.
Our range,
So,
we have
it's
a lot more. We have a lot more degrees between the freezing and boiling point. That's about it. So you have to do a lot of conversions between Celsius. Celsius is a very easy, but the thing is, only through experience do I know that 20 degrees Celsius is about ideal temperature.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here
20
actually
degrees
it is.
Celsius is quite okay.
Here actually exactly currently now it is 20 degrees Celsius and it is freaking cold. I
Let me
find
check
it so cold.
What's right now here? Something like, okay, where is it?
Yeah. Let me do a
Right
quick
there.
command in the terminal to get my
Here it's
weather.
3 degrees Celsius, which is 83 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh,
that's like-
3
that's
is
like-
pretty cold according to me.
3, it's not that cold for me. It goes
I
here.
don't
It
know.
goes on summer. Here goes up to like something like 40, 45 maximum degrees Celsius,
Oh.
and
80.
sometimes in the winter it drops. Here where I live to 10, 15. It can go even colder if it's like a really cold winter, but normally it's
Hey,
somewhere
do you
between
guys-
10 to
Do you guys have curl installed on your systems? That package?
Oh,
See,
Yes,
you-
I have. I'm just
Okay.
gonna run the command that you have shown to me.
Right. Do that
First
command
gonna-
with your location,
gonna-
and
First, I'm gonna check what this command does.
it just pulls down basically some web data, but it displays it in your terminal, so you don't have to worry about the browser
Yeah.
or anything. It's
I
going to
know,
give you
this-
your
Yeah, all that stuff.
yeah.
Just a joke.
Curl
because-
basically is used for servers, computer web servers.
yeah, I know what
when you're,
curl does. I'm joking.
yeah.
Like you never
Okay.
copy the what someone on internet posted. You must always check what it does.
First, I'm gonna copy exactly what distro you've given. That is London, right?
Yeah, you just want to
the
check it out.
output
you can-
is so pretty. I didn't think of that.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
Oh, it's pretty neat. That's the most beautiful output I've ever seen on my terminal. It looks so
Actually,
gorgeous.
Repos, or is that on GitHub?
Curl
It's
is
in-
like you download it. It's like most distros have it by itself installed.
Yeah,
A lot of them
I
will
think
have it.
Oh, so
You
it's
should use
already
sudo
installed.
DNF curl. Like it's probably Fedora had it on already.
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's already installed.
See how beautiful that is.
I'll use Stylix. Okay, I was asking what to use.
Yeah.
Question: What's the theme? Or what's the color scheme called?
That color scheme, I don't know. I just installed Tilix yesterday. It was, I think, material. Let me check. Let me show you.
No, probably the default one if you haven't changed anything.
No, it says custom over here.
Okay.
Oh, now I understand. I have a custom color scheme, I think, which is called, Dracula.
Yeah, I've seen that color.
Yeah,
scheme
Dracula
around too,
color
yeah.
scheme. Oops. I accidentally clicked it. It's gone.
No, it
Whoops.
isn't.
How do I get back? Like, clicking back on custom. I think I butchered it. Shit. I gotta redo it once again. I screwed it up.
That's why I have profiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know which one is the thing. Like Tango. Tango. I think it's Tango.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Tango. I have a
it is
really
Tango,
good
right?
memory, so I remember how it looked before.
Yeah, how it looked. It was Tango.
Okay.
It was Tango. But wait a minute. If it was Tango, why did it show custom when I first opened it?
Maybe you actually did change something and didn't know.
Yeah, you probably made some minor changes to it.
Yeah. DT, one question. What terminal emulator you like the most? Because I'm thinking of changing
URXVT. I think DT likes URXVT. Yeah,
good.
I expected that. He likes URXVT.
But I'm not using it right now. I'm using the simple terminal. So,
oh.
Yeah.
Okay, someone calls me. Sorry.
Okay. Let me mute BigPod for a minute. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using ST, the simple terminal.
Okay. And DT, I want to know what are the advantages of using...
of what?
I want to know the advantage of using URXVT over something like Tilix.
Well, Tilix is, of course, designed to have tiling within the terminal, right? Where
got to go. Be back in probably 15 minutes.
If I'm on a tiling window manager though, so I don't really need to tile inside my terminal.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
it doesn't make
so
much sense
basically tile it.
Right. Right. But you're on
Tilix
a floating window
this.
manager. You don't do a tiling window manager. So if you want to tile within your terminal, it makes sense to have.
Yeah. This is the only thing. Yep. So this is how my terminal basically looks like. And Tilix, it's actually, I found Tilix does this just yesterday and just install it.
No.
It was actually yesterday that I found both ZSH and Tilix. And you see that auto completion down here? Just here, yeah.
Yep.
I typed in P and it says Python -- version. That was the previous command. So I was very impressed of this and did try to get it in Bash a few months ago, I think. I don't remember that. But now I know that it is actually good in ZSH. So I came to ZSH, and today is the first day I wrote my first ZSH command. I mean, not the command, the function, a ZSH function, because till now I didn't write any ZSH function. Yeah, this is the fetch.
What does ZSH give you over like Bash?
It has some different functionality, actually, like that auto completion that he just showed you. Bash doesn't have that.
ZSH actually has tons of extensions and plugins and themes and a lot of stuff. So it's like Bash does not come pre-installed with it, though you can make Bash exactly like ZSH. But Bash is actually a simple setup by default. But ZSH, it is easy to configure this thing, and it is easy to actually have a lot of themes, a lot of plugins. Just give a lot of bling to the terminal. If you're actually living most of the time in the terminal.
Yeah, it has a ton. It has a ton of themes, especially if you use the Oh My ZSH framework that a lot of people use with it.
I'm using it right now. Yeah. You can see in my config file. I don't know. Here it is. Oh My ZSH. I'm using it right now. I just found this yesterday, and this is my first function I wrote in any kind of shell language in Linux, basically. That just clones my repositories from my from different GitHub accounts that I have, from GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket, all in the simple, neat little fetch command. Fetch function technically, and it clones all of those. I just have to say fetch and the name of the repository, and it's gonna clone from my own stuff. But most probably, you can make it dynamic because I already have this configuration here. This must be git config, not GitHub config. Okay. I have this configuration, and here I have already given the usernames. Somebody who wants this config file can just change the usernames, and it's going to clone from their repositories. I didn't make it dynamic yet, but I'm soon gonna make it though.
And this wouldn't
So
run
this
in a
is
bash.
No,
Yeah,
it's not running Bash. It's a ZSH.
No,
It's my
would it
ZSH
run
RC.
in Bash?
He's
though? I
asking,
don't
could
see
this
anything
execute
on
in
there that's
Bash?
not a Bash
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it might run, but there are minor syntax changes between ZSH and Bash.
Yeah.
Like how you make that function, how the if statements go in ZSH. There might be small differences between how things go on ZSH and how things go on Bash. So you might copy this exact function. It might work, it might not work. I exactly don't know because I never ran the exact same function in Bash.
I found that most things in ZSH work in Bash, vice versa. Because I've played
It's basically
around with
SH.
Yeah, most of it, it's just going to be the same. So
yeah.
Or the things are a little different in the fish shell when you try that one. FISH, fish is a little different.
I have to try that. After ZSH, probably I'm going to go to fish and maybe CSH. I don't know what is CHH, but maybe CSH.
Yeah,
I never used it.
I don't shell hop. I stick to Bash. So. It just works.
I basically kernel hop, distro hop, window manager hop, terminal hop, shell hop, basically everything, file manager hop.
Every call you Froggy.
Yeah, you can call me that.
All the hopping you're doing.
Yeah.
I basically don't stick with one setup for 1 week. I just change it.
Well,
because I find somewhere in YouTube I find a video and wow, this I feel like, wow, this is something cool that I should have, and then I format, I have that, and after a week or so I lose interest on that. I find some other video which is again looking cool, and then I do that. So I just keep on hopping stuff.
Yeah, I just window manager hop. So that's all I'm. This week I'm on DWM, so this has been fun though. The suckless tools.
I tend to hop on desktop environments also, just to But like I said, the purpose, the reason why I do that is I try to find something that my users will actually use.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. A fun little question: how does my wallpaper look?
It looks like a wallpaper. What's
If it was tilted down a little bit and saw more of the building and less of the sky, it probably
no. Actually, that's a huge building, and it's actually a palace. It's a huge palace in India, and because it is not in the 16:9 ratio, so I had to chop it down to that peak of it. So it came. The image was like that. And this is my first time also using the dock to panel extension for GNOME desktop environment.
Right.
Basically, I'm using the arc menu, the dock to panel, and the open weather and Manjaro update extensions.
Yeah, it looks like a desktop. So
I'm
not sure what you want from us. It looks like a wallpaper, man. It's a wallpaper.
It is a wallpaper. Who said no to that? I'm in. I'm just asking you guys if somebody is really attracted to that kind of stuff.
What you need the subreddit or Unix porn. You need to go there, post a screenshot, and they'll let you know what they think.
As someone who is familiar with photography and has done quite a bit of photography, composition-wise, I didn't find it all that interesting. Like I said, if you had panned down a little bit or tilted down a little bit, probably would have been a little bit more interesting. But other than that, it's the desktop.
Yeah, I think I have the entire photo, which is like big. Yeah, there you go. This is the full one. Let me see. Okay, it opened in Shotwell. That's cool because I don't know why, but images in my system are opening in Visual Studio Code. That's like creepy.
Oh, you have something that's associated with it.
Right. You probably opened an image in Visual Studio Code one time, and it keeps coming back to it.
No, I ran a command called xdg query, and it showed me that Visual Studio's supported MIME types has image/JPEG.
Yeah.
So when I installed Visual Studio, when I compiled Visual Studio from AUR, it automatically changed my default image viewer to VS Code, and now VS Code is like crazy about opening binary images instead of source code files.
I know the way to fix that. If you uninstall Visual Studio, it should fix that for you.
No. That's actually it is, but actually the fix for this is sudo xdg dash I think MIME. xdg MIME.
Yeah, that's it. Uh-huh.
And you could actually, in case there is a problem, you could just use this MIME and give it the query subcommand and find out which application is which application is responsible for opening certain types, and you can type in xdg MIME space default and set the application's desktop file in the /usr/share/applications directory. You got to go to that directory, do an ls, which is like
that's one
USR share.
It's mime.
You just basically do an ls. You just take this name, and then you give it sudo xdg. Whoops, I pressed something. The ZSH. I'm actually not fully not fully adapted to the ZHH shell.
Yeah,
so you're gonna set
bash,
default.
You've been done by now.
Yeah, it's actually slow, but I'm gonna learn it. That's it. That's what I'm gonna say about ZSH. And then you're gonna give it this name, whatever. I'm not gonna run this command, so whatever.
Yeah,
and then you're gonna give it the. For example, if you want to open a directory, you're gonna say inode/directory. And that's it. This command will set in your system. If you open a file, if you open a directory, it's going to open in PAMAC.
Yeah.
If I run this command, right? It's it was just a simple command fix, and it fixed it. But I don't know why Visual Studio does it. Maybe it's because it is in the package build of VS Code that I have cloned from. But Mr. Chris, this is the image.
Yeah, see how that's a little bit more the composing across the there's not quite as much sky off onto the left side. You actually see the form of the building of the face, and then it's a lot more visually interesting. So.
But because of its weird aspect ratio, I had to do that. Anyways, I'm gonna change it anyhow after the stream and make it into something more interesting.
How do you like my background there, DT?
Yeah, I noticed that you had the matrix going.
Yeah, that is actually pretty cool. The matrix.
We live in the matrix.
I liked it when you went AFK and we just had the matrix going.
So, one thing I wanted to, something that Kev thought of while Bash was talking there, there isn't a registry for Linux like there is for Windows, where it's a central configuration database, etc. For the most part. So how do the associations work? In other words, when I open up a media file, VLC will come up rather than whatever other media player I might already have on the system.
Well, it also depends on how you launch it. Like if you're doing it from your file manager, some file managers will let you set rules for that stuff within the file manager itself, like in Ranger or VIFM or things like that.
Yeah,
I'll have an association and I'll tell it always open a MP4 in VLC. Never open it in anything.
That's gonna
else. Right.
If you're using a GTK-based desktop environment, that's going to basically change your rule set in dconf. And in GTK-based desktop environments, dconf is partially an alternative to Windows registry.
Right.
Right. And KDE, I have been in research on how KDE stores its settings. And turns out it basically stores it either in plain text in KDE 4, and now in KDE Plasma 5, it is actually storing it in a database file.
Wow.
Is it a flat database or?
Yeah, it looks like it's some kind of SQLite 3 type of database. I couldn't read it because I don't know. Yeah, it is relational, I think. Because I couldn't open that database without knowing how KDE opens it.
Well, I mean, just I would say like the Windows registry is a flat database. It's a hierarchical database, but it's still a flat database. It doesn't call in from other sources to that.
Right. It's
everything. Every piece of data, and so you have a lot of repeated data in there. And
I mean,
that's why
the most
20 times over the life of a Windows.
Yeah, the most worst thing that Windows does is they easily allow anybody, literally any program, to change Windows registry. Now, Windows registry stores all of most of the settings in Windows. It is a pretty sensitive place for any program to allow to make changes, right?
No, it'll make changes within the permissions of the user.
Yeah. It doesn't have permission to do anything.
Yeah,
but basically,
if it's your, you got to remember, if it's your own personal computer that you're working off, you're working as an administrator, almost like a sudo. Whereas,
that's bad.
In the enterprise environment, the general user does not have that capability.
Right, it's locked
down. They
down.
run something that's making modifications to the registry. They're not going to be able to run it.
So, one of the reasons why I think Linux is the best, is the best at this particular aspect, is Linux by default does not give you that elevated privileges. It does not straight away log into root. There is a root user, though. You could do things with sudo, but it asks you password whenever you do it. So some strange program cannot elevate its privileges from being a normal process to a pseudo process, right? In Windows, that can happen sometimes without the user's interaction. It's easy to hack away, but in Linux, it's actually pretty tough.
Well, the reason why is because Windows and Linux are a completely different philosophy. Linux is a multi-user system. It is made based on systems that have the legacy systems that were, the big time sharing and multi-resource sharing systems, whereas Windows is more from a single user point of view.
Right.
And that's why you have a completely different situation, whereas Windows out of the box assumes that you're the administrator of the computer because it's your computer. As opposed to in the enterprise, that's why you have different Windows flavors too.
It worked out well. It worked out well for Linux to be ahead on this root user privilege thing. Like that's why Linux became so popular in servers right away, because we were so much more secure than Windows, mainly because we were ahead of the curve on these pseudo privileges that Windows took many years before they started letting the user have
implementing this type of philosophy.
Right, exactly.
And implementing.
Now, Windows NT is a different animal. That that from the get-go has always been, which is what Windows 2000, Windows, the current line of Windows is based off. But again, in the enterprise environment, you have a completely different philosophy and different setup. Whereas, the user a computer at their desk, they're going to be severely restricted.
Okay.
And that would be the same on a Linux machine or a Windows machine. I mean, if in an enterprise setting, you're probably not letting your users have permission to do anything on,
Basically, yeah.
Right. Windows, Linux, anything. You're going to lock it down, right? You're not going to give them root privileges on that machine.
Yeah.
No.
But Mr. Chris, I want to ask you, does Windows Enterprise editions use the NT branch of kernel?
What's left of it, yeah. I mean, it's really, it's really kind of a, it is a legacy that is had because when Microsoft pulled those, lured those programmers away from DEC,
because
that's why the permissions look a lot like what you might find on a VAX, which has now gone into group policy. The group policy is actually what makes management of an enterprise system a whole lot easier, because you can set up, if you have these policies, these privileges are then enacted. You push those out real time. That's however, I mean, what Windows has done as far as making its stuff bulletproof, it doesn't do it because it loses functionality. Whereas that's one of the reasons why I really like working with Linux, is because I can
before Windows 2000, before Windows 2000, according to my knowledge,
or 3.5.
Before that, they used to use a different branch of kernel called the Windows 9X for home users and the NT kernel for enterprise.
Windows NT 4 and 3.5 had the interface of 3.5 had the interface of Windows 3.1. The Windows NT 4 had the interface of Windows 95 and Windows 98. But the kernel itself, and that was really the first time that Windows had been introduced with a kernel, with a hardware extraction layer and all that. That's where you see that, and that was specifically made to run in a business and enterprise environment. And that's so let's see, 3.5 came out in about 80. Something like 89 or something like that, but Windows NT 4 is where everything started catching up. And in fact, the code name for Windows NT 4 was Visine, and the reason why Visine is because Visine gets the red out. The red happens to be Novell. So,
So what did you guys think about the security bug in the apt package manager from last week?
I thought it was very funny that it showed up right after the bug in System D.
And what was that, Chris?
I found it very funny that it showed up right after the bug in System D showed up.
Yeah, because we had the big System D bug the week before, and I don't know. I didn't think either one of them was that big of a story as far as, these kind of bugs crop up. So they fixed it right away. The System D bug was patched right away. The apt bug was patched right away. So I think a lot of
talking
about
safety and security, I find it weird that till today, no distribution I have ever ran patched the fork bump in the terminal.
Some of them can prevent that. Ubuntu may. I know Ubuntu disables a lot of harmful commands that you could run in the terminal. Yeah. Like they won't let you sudo rm your home directory.
I ran Ubuntu, the latest version, the GNOME official version, just 4 days ago and tested with fork bump. It works. It crashed the entire system.
Yeah, but
depending on how you ran it. Yeah, but
I ran it.
I know.
I ran it in. Yeah, go ahead.
As far as I know, fork bump or as known as some other names can't really be fixed. It's not actually a bug that is fixable. It's because it's standard denial of service.
Yeah, and it's not damaging your system.
Just basically process is basically repeatedly replicating in multiple versions from one process to, and that cannot be blocked. That
by
cannot
fork
be.
bomb.
That's the fork
bomb. No, by fork bomb, I mean, there is actually, according to me, a serious concern about fork bomb. That is because I seriously think that a process, a main thread in the program should have a limit on it. Okay.
No, it can't have, because that's actually the problem, because you have a thread which spawns another thread. Here in fork bomb, how normally fork bomb works, a thread spawns another process. So that process doesn't have anything to do with the main thread. Main process just spawns another process. It's basically
so each process is an individual new process.
But
launched from the same command, right?
Yeah, but in reality, you cannot fix that or like stop it, because some applications do like 100 or even more threads, so they can actually work like big processor like 64 cores.
As far as
128 thread or 256 thread.
And it's not a big threat. Disabling the ability to run that fork bomb in the shell, it's not that big of a deal. That's why it's just a denial of service. Reboot the machine, and
I can make a fork bomb with Python, with C#, with anything. I can make a fork bomb, and it doesn't actually.
And that fork bomb will be more powerful than the one you run in the terminal. Single line.
It's just depending on what I put that it does. I could do a fork bomb that basically calculates random numbers like million times a second. That will a lot. Crash.
That will suck up the CPU.
Or I just make a fork bomb that each of them opens a 100-dimensional array of 100 numbers or 100 strings. That will destroy your RAM really quickly.
Yeah, there's a million things I could type in the terminal right now that would lock up my computer. But it won't destroy the computer, right? It just
basically lock up your system and fill your CPU,
in a way,
GPU,
Linux
everything.
is powerful. We feel a lot powerful when we have the availability to run such type of commands, but we still don't. So it's like they're kind of the powerful computer users. Who have a lot of power in their hands, but they don't misuse that power.
Most distros have disabled like the really harmful stuff. Like you're not going to be able to sudo rem your root directory. Sometimes you can't sudo rem your home directory. Like they'll give you feedback in their terminal saying, "Hey, do you really mean to do this? And if you do, type this very much longer command to really do this."
And fork bomb works on everything from Mac, Windows, Linux. There is no way.
I never tried fork bomb on Windows. I got to try it now.
Fork bomb on Windows is really, really easy. You have a script, a batch file that has start, enter, start, space, start, and copy that, let's say, 50 times. Run that. And wait a minute. Computer is locked up immediately.
And DT, quickly, I wanted to remind you of a distro that I have in the past used for a few months, and I want you to make a video of that distro because it's a good concept. It's not a normal distro. It is actually called Enso. It's actually called Enso, based off of Xubuntu. Yeah, you've heard of it. You know literally all of the Linux distributions in the entire world.
Well, I have downloaded that one before, and I've played with it a little bit. I'm not sure did I actually make a video about Enso? No, I didn't. If I didn't make a video about it, it probably didn't work out real well for me because I know I downloaded the ISO before, maybe more than once. So
yeah,
could have been a problem with me trying to get it installed.
Yeah, it basically uses the elementary OS Gala window manager with the XFCE desktop environment.
Yeah.
Pretty neat little distribution. I was actually one of the first to try that out.
Mm-hmm.
The developer, Nick Wilkins, I even had a privilege to chat with him.
Yeah, let me see. With Enso, have they had a recent release? I'm pretty sure I've tried to look at it before, and
0.3 is the last one, I guess.
Okay. So these distro reviews, I take a look at these distros on the channel. Most of them work out, but I download a lot of distros sometimes where I can't even get the things installed, like the installer's broken, or I can't get it working in a VM, can't get it working on real hardware. Like I'll spend 2-3 hours and can never get some of these distros to even install properly. And I don't make videos about them because I don't like being negative about people that work on free and open source software. I mean, this is somebody's, hobby, pet project. They created their little distro. It doesn't work for me. Not gonna, bash it by putting it on camera. So there's been, I don't know, a dozen distros over the last year that I've actually tried to take a look at, planned on making a video of, but for some reason or another, I couldn't even get them to install, or if I could get them to install, they were so horribly broken after install. Like, you know what, we'll just forget about this. I'll wait for the next release and see if maybe it looks a little better. So I think Enso might have been...
the Biddle challenge was Rosa, and I couldn't get that one installed at all.
Yeah. That challenge was awesome, I must say.
I didn't get to try it.
Yeah, I didn't do Rosa with you guys this past week, but I have installed Rosa in the past. I know Rosa now, though, the ISO's kind of old. But I took a look at Rosa on the channel, I don't know, a while back. It may have been like a year back. Wasn't a horrible distro. Wasn't my favorite, though.
And I've heard from Big Daddy Linux that there are live streams over there too, and I would love to join that.
Oh yeah, you should.
Yeah,
yep.
We have a live
stream. Are they free and open? I mean, like, how can I join? I didn't ask.
It's licensed under the GPL. So
you just join. Basically, have a link in the description. That's it. You join us.
Actually, I think Big Daddy he licensed it under the BSD license. He's so free. So.
Okay, I want to join. If you think I'm cool here and I'm worth it to go on that, then I will. Because if you anyway think I'm wasting your time or something like that, that's it. It's over. I'm not going to waste your time.
I'm still a noob when it comes to Linux, and you sound way more than that.
Same here. I just like to make myself look smart, even though I'm not.
This is not the cool crowd.
I do it.
Right? Smarter than your client. So.
Me and Chris were on it last night.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I stopped by for a second last night. Yeah. I played around with the YouTube chat on Big Daddy's stream last night. I didn't join you guys on camera because I was in the middle of trying to patch DWM. And I spent like 3 or 4 hours last night patching this thing, trying to get just a few basic things working on DWM. I got it to work, but it is a pain. Definitely not a window manager I will be recommending to people. I like it, but it's not something I'm going to tell people, yeah, you guys need to go try it, because most people are just going to give up after a few minutes playing with this thing. The patches are just ridiculous. Some of the patches just don't install correctly. Then you have to manually patch them. Open the files and insert the code that needed to be there because the patch didn't do it for you. And
okay, if it is like pre-patched, prepackaged, yeah, maybe someone would use it, but like that, almost anyone won't.
Well, I get what most people do with these suckless programs is you finally get it patched, to your liking, and you just keep your own build somewhere, on GitHub or wherever, and hopefully you never have to go through that pain of doing all them patches again, hopefully. But my thing, DWM doesn't get an update very often, it's not under real heavy development, but if there was ever a major update, and I had to go through this trouble again, I probably wouldn't. I would just switch window managers at that point. So.
And did you customize i3WM more or DWM?
i3, I probably customize more, but it's a lot easier to do things in i3 because it's all done through a config file. You know, it's a standard config file. DWM does not have like your DWMRC file where you just, you know, change whatever, the color or transparency or whatever on something and restart DWM and it's good. No, you actually have to recompile. And then I have to log out and log back in too, because you just can't restart DWM in session and things magically work, at least not by default. So that is a pain because every minor change you have to recompile. Now I could set some kind of bash alias to recompile for me, or I could recompile in Vim if I'm editing the file in Vim. But even that, still it takes a few seconds every time you change something to compile. But the real headache is not the compiling, it's the patching. DWM, like by default, only has 2 layouts. Your standard master and stack layout that most tiling window managers have, and floating. But what if I want a grid layout where it grids everything equally on the screen, you know, as many times as it can? There's a patch to add that, right? Like this is like basic stuff that pretty much every other tiling window manager has, but DWM doesn't have by default. I have to go get a patch for that. It doesn't support transparency out of the box, DWM. Like the top panel, it can't be transparent, but there's a patch for that. This is just stuff that's built into most window managers, but the suckless guys, they do things a little bit differently. They strip it way down. Yeah. Where you pretty much have to go get half a dozen patches to make it usable.
I don't know about which one. But yeah, I believe it's DWM. It's like 2,000 lines of code default.
Right.
Way.
And they do that because it's bloat, right? All those lines of code.
In their opinion.
But here's the thing. Xmonad is very much functions like DWM. It's a great window manager, tiling window manager. Xmonad is only 5,000 lines of code. And it has all this stuff I'm patching already working out of the book.
Also Haskell, so.
Yeah, that's true. But here's...
Okay, on the other side, that's C, so it shouldn't be that much different.
Right. I mean, you're assuming somebody knows C. What if you don't know either one of them?
Yeah.
So,
one thing I really hate about DWM is that they couldn't implement a simple config reader. It's like 5 lines of code. Yeah. 5 lines of code, and you can read any type of config file. You can even use XML, JSON, whatever you want, with 5 lines of code.
Yeah.
No, cannot 5. Maybe it's 15. No. I don't know exactly. Remember how I do it in C.
I mean, I respect their philosophy and what they're trying to do with these programs. I just think very, very few people will be at home on their programs. I don't think most people are going to want to fool with DWM as a window manager for sure. Just stay away from that. The terminal, ST terminal, is not bad. You're probably only going to patch that once or twice, and it kind of works as is. Surf, the web browser, complete garbage. Just don't even bother installing that thing. It's not even really a web browser. It's not a fully functioning web browser. It doesn't have tabs. It doesn't even have like a URL bar that you can like type an address in. You have to launch the next URL by launching dmenu. If you have dmenu installed. So just strange the way they do their...
I have a little bit announcement. It's specifically for you. I will try to use Qtile.
No, yeah. I think you'll enjoy it.
What happened to the awesome experiment a couple of weeks ago, Big Pod?
Was that
Big Pod who tried awesome?
I think that was Garth that wanted to try awesome.
Oh, that was Garth. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he hasn't been back, so I don't think awesome went that well for him. So I imagine his experience wasn't that awesome. Anyway, we're coming up on 12 o'clock here, guys, and I've got to be going. So let me get a quick last word from everybody. Vasant, give us a last word.
I talked too much today.
Good last word.
John in the chat says about that.
Yeah.
Said I talk too much and I'm a bit offensive in the chat, so I feel sorry about that.
No, some people are overly sensitive.
Yeah.
Paul, do you have a last word?
Year of the Linux desktop.
Yeah,
2025.
I like that. Are we doing 2019 or are you doing something far off in the future?
Every year.
Every year.
It's already there.
Yeah. For some of us. Chris, give us a last word, sir.
Just getting over this cold and probably see you guys next week. That's about all I have this time around.
Yeah, next, by the way, next Sunday, if I'm available, I think I will be. We're probably going to do a patron-only chat because it'll be first week of February. So I'll do, the once a month I do just for the patrons. We'll probably do that one next week. Big Pod, give us the last word, sir.
Thank you for having us. And once again, time to do my advertisement.
Oh,
shameless advertisement. Yeah, this week you should expect some content from me on my YouTube channel, Big Pod.
Yeah. I can't wait. It's going to be all about Qtile and how much you love Python.
No, it will probably something to do with either touchscreens or Manjaro, maybe even together.
Yeah. All right, I'll be looking for it. All right, Rob, are you there, sir? Give us the last word.
Yeah, I got here late, but it's been entertaining, DT.
All right.
Thanks for having us. Hope you feel better, Chris.
Yeah, this time of year with the weather. Yeah, I've been fighting a cold. Well, I'm over it now, but there for about a month. I just couldn't. I had a cough that I couldn't shake there for a little while. Of course, before we go, I do need to give my last word here. This show was made possible by Ansem, Carlos, Chris, Dylan, Leor, Rob, Tony. Also brought to you by all those good people on the screen, all those names that support my work over on Patreon. Really want to thank each and every one of you guys. I want to thank all these people that are hanging out in the YouTube chat, and of course the folks that hung out with me on Zoom today. So let's do it again. Next Sunday we'll do the patrons only chat, and then we'll get back to the free and open chats hopefully the following Sunday, work permitting. All right, guys, peace.
Sounds good. Bye, all.
Bye. Chat.